Very good to see you. Great to
Hi,
have you.
Andrew. Great to be with you.
Great. So where are you? You're in Donegal?
I'm in Donegal this morning. It's been a busy week, but it's nice to be at home on a Friday. So yeah, I'm very happy. Sun's
Very,
shining.
very good. Very good. Well, we've known each other for a few years and that now through the Angel sort of network, and we met up recently at the UK BAA Angel uh, Investor of the Year because you were Angel last year and you were handing over the crown.
I was the UK BAA Angel of the Year 2023 to 24. So back in July, I handed it over to the new winner, who was Nick Button Brown from who's got an interest in like gaming and the creative industry. So it's nice to see somebody different winning it. Yeah.
Good one.
It's a bit reluctant to hand it over, Andrew. You know what it's like. Yeah.
So give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and context, Mary, for our viewers and listeners.
Okay. So I guess I call myself a serial tech entrepreneur. I started an online learning business back in 2006, way before it was fashionable, called Learning Pool. Just at the time when ubiquitous broadband came in everywhere. Do you remember you used to go into people's offices and they had those boxes of CDs down the back of the
Yeah, yeah.
cupboard, where just full of stuff that had gone out of date as soon as it was printed. So a business that we started sort of during one of the big recessions, and everybody told us that we were completely mad to do so, you know, that way that they do when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But we went ahead anyway and bootstrapped that business because we couldn't raise any investment. Personally, as a female founder, it was extremely difficult almost 20 years ago to have any conversations with anybody about raising investment for a tech business. Borrowing money from the bank was tricky enough, although we did finally manage to do that through a government scheme. And so, you know, we bootstrapped that business up until the point where I exited. And at that point, it was 100 employees, £10 million turnover probably, and a million online users.
What
And
was
I
that? When do you exit?
2014, 10
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, a reasonable business. I sold my half of the business to my own co-founder and team. They raised private equity and went on a really sort of like an acquisition journey, bought a lot of other smaller e-learning businesses, and were really well positioned then when COVID hit, because by that time they were much, much bigger. And through COVID, they supersized the business completely and sold it for a very big number to a private equity house in California. So well done them. You know?
Very good.
But that's kind of like part of the journey of an entrepreneur. Sometimes the person that starts it isn't the person that finishes it. And I think as a sort of a startup entrepreneur, you've got to be very aware of your things that you're good at and when it's time for you to step away and let somebody else take it on to the next stage. You know? So
Uh,
I'm
what
happy
are
with
some,
how it turned out. Yeah.
and what are some of your key learnings and lessons in that from that entrepreneurial journey in that first and
It's all about the team,
right?
which is I think the hardest part of any business, um, is recruiting the right team, setting the culture and the values from the first day, and living that sort of values throughout as the business starts to grow. It's dead easy to do that when your business is less than 20 people, Andrew, you know, because
Mm.
everybody knows exactly what everyone's doing, and it's dead easy. But when the business starts to scale, keeping that kind of like cozy startup culture is quite hard.
Yeah.
um, so I suppose any advice that I would have for any founders out there that are starting out would be to like really think about what your values are and whether you want that to be part of your business. And if you do, to like really consider sort of where your values sit, where the red lines are for you, and know that information in advance, because sooner or later somebody's going to ask you to cross one of those red lines. And if you've already thought about it in advance, it's an easier decision for you and it's quicker and you move on.
All
You know?
right. Okay. No, great point. Great point. So just moving on your journey. So when you did your exit, is that when you moved into angel investing and that then? What's the
Yeah.
angel investing journey been like?
Yeah, so a very smart man from Coots Bank told me at the time that I exited that I should just leave my money in the bank and not touch it for 12 months. But of course, I went to a pitch almost the next day
Right.
because, as you will know, entrepreneurs can neither be steered nor led. They just do they just do their own thing. So I went along, and I think in that very first year, I invested in three businesses. I now have a portfolio that extends to about 30 early stage businesses,
Hmm.
and those three are the only three that have failed so far. And
Right.
so there's kind of a lesson in there that if you are starting out at angel investing, don't be headstrong and rush off and do your own thing. Sit back a little moment, join a syndicate, go to lots and lots of pitches and learn from people that have been at it a bit longer than you before you jump straight in.
So that Coots person was right in that then.
Totally right. Yeah, he absolutely was right. And as usual, I was wrong, but I learned the lesson from it.
Yeah. No, we're always learning in that, aren't we? I think that's one of the most important things here, whether you've been through the venture journey or the investment sort of journey, it's that learning and that all the time. So what were some of the lessons and things that you've learned now on your angel investing? What are the things that you're looking for and how do you approach it?
Yeah, I do a lot more due diligence these days than I did at the start, Andrew. Um, and I tend to do investment as part of a group or a syndicate
Hmm.
rather than operating as a lone operator most of the time. I still do, I still do very, very early stage by myself where I'll be first money in and I'll take a bit of a hands-on role with the company for the first 2 years, perhaps.
Right.
So I will go in really early if it's something that if I like the team and it's something that I'm actually interested in doing and I don't mind putting a bit of time in it, then I'll do that. But I'll limit that to perhaps, like one company a year or something because there's only so much time in the day. You know?
Yeah. So what sort of split have you sort of about 30 ventures you've invested in
Mm.
that now then? What's the sort of split where you've been more hands-on, do you think, compared to ones that have gone via a syndicate and you've been more hands-off? What's the sort of split?
Yeah. Well, I guess the stuff that I'm interested in women founders. Like these days, I kind of more or less only invest in women founders that are based on the island of Ireland, either north or south.
Right.
I invest in businesses that are tech for good. And if I'm going to get involved in a hands-on way, I invest in something that I really know well myself, where I can add a lot of value through my own experience and through my network, which is significant. Um, but then I invest in other technologies with other people where I'm not such a domain expert, but I'm interested in it. And I think it's maybe I can see that there's an opportunity and it's going to scale well. I invest really early. So as you know, it's the riskiest end of the spectrum.
Mm.
And to be honest, I only invest in businesses where I expect to make like a really reasonable return. I wouldn't bother investing in something where, they're telling me that I'm gonna make 3x or something like that. It's not really of interest for me. Um,
Right.
I want to play I want to play at the risky end.
Okay. And how do you differentiate some of those from the bullshit ones of, oh, we're going to be 100x and sort of stuff like
I
that?
used to be an accountant.
Also those out pretty quickly, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, 10 years of watching people pitching,
Mhm.
I think you do really start to have a bit of a bullshit detector, don't you? You can tell there's certain trigger phrases and everything that they say that, you just feel yourself thinking, oh my goodness, that's a bit of a red flag or whatever. Or where the founder is really, really confident and arrogant and has a massive ego and those sorts of things. Like I would just run for the hills from something like that.
Yeah. I remember one particular case where, and so we were in a syndicate sort of meeting, and the founder sort of came back. He sort of turned around and said something like, "Oh yeah, well, what number would you like the number to be?" And I was like, "What?" We may as well finish
Yeah,
this sort of type thing. I closed my folder and sort of,
yeah. I mean, there's a certain bit of swagger goes on, but it can go a bit far.
yeah. Now you've been a
I also think it's really, for me anyway, another thing that's important is I kind of know 10 years in how long I'm likely to be involved with those companies.
Yeah.
And I'm now so old that I only really do things that I like. So I would much rather pass over something where there is potential to make a lot of money, but I really didn't like the founding team.
Okay.
I'd
Yeah.
much rather wait and see what else comes along than rush in with people that I didn't feel comfortable with or that I didn't think was going to be fun spending time with them.
Yeah. 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 No,
I
that's
don't
so
know if that's,
important.
but I can only speak for myself. I think I meet other angels that just really operate on a very numbers basis and how they can get their tax benefits and blah. I'm not really like that. It isn't really about the money for me. I want to make some money, but I also want to do something that's making the world a better place and is helping somebody that would otherwise perhaps struggle to get started and get a bit of a boost at the beginning.
Yeah. 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 You said you're a great advocate for female founders and female angels and stuff like that. And I've invested and been a co-founder, like in a retail and fashion business, which is got a great female sort of founder and that. And I suppose I'd like to get into discussing that now, as you are a female.
Yeah,
And I must admit, I do find it a bit uncomfortable sometimes being in these meetings where it's 90+% men, and we're talking about trying to get, encourage female founders and encourage, female angels. And I miss the diversity bit sort of sometimes. And we're trying to find people that are like us, but sort of, you know, but they just happen to be female or they just happen to be another diverse group. And I feel
yeah,
uncomfortable in some of those sort of areas. I just wonder what your perspective now on it is and how we encourage more diversity and more females in that
yeah.
particularly.
I think, I mean, where we started this conversation, um, I couldn't raise any money for my own business. And I come from a sales background and I couldn't raise any money. So that tells you how difficult it is for a woman, particularly a woman in tech. And everyone knows the stats about this, so I'm not going to repeat them. But it's 2%. 2% of VC money goes to all female teams. So the rest of it goes to either all male or a combination of male
Yeah.
and female teams. So there's a huge, huge disparity. And here in Ireland, where I live, the number of angel investors is that are women is extremely small. It seems to be way behind the rest of Europe. That's anecdotal
Mhm.
because the numbers that the agencies and everybody produces, I always look at them with a little bit of skepticism because, as we know, many men put share purchases and whatever into their wives' names for tax reasons, and so the numbers are actually that although they're low, they're probably higher than what they really are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So again, a man said to me, there was a man here in Ireland that was running an angel syndicate for a long, long time. And he said to me that it was impossible to bring any more women angel investors into the ecosystem. And that was the point at which I decided I was going to try and do something about it.
Mm.
Actually, Joe Kennedy said to me last year that was probably the only reason that I did it was because someone told me it would be impossible to do. But it's
Right.
not. It's a genuine. So along with three other women, I started an angel syndicate here in Ireland. It's called Awaken Angels. We've been going for about 12 months,
Hmm.
and we are doing this because we're on a mission to bring more women into the ecosystem because of the experience that you've had where even when you go in and invest in, say it's women's fashion or athleisure wear or a femtech product or whatever, they can there can be occasions where all of their shareholders, apart from the founders, are men.
Yeah.
And that's great. And we all want our male allies to join us in supporting us. But what often happens, or what sometimes happens, is that the shareholders that come into the business then start to impose their ideas about sales and everything and the product development onto the founders.
Hmm.
And it really could be something that they honestly don't know an awful lot about
Yeah.
because, it could be a femtech product. And it leads to, it leads to the founders feeling really, that they don't have a great deal of options. And I think life is about having options. And
Yeah.
so the more diversity that we can bring into the investment space, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
guess the other side of the coin for this as well is that everybody knows that there is an intergenerational shift in wealth that's happening. Um, just as the demographics of the population moves forward, a lot more wealth is transferring into the hands of women as their spouses die and whatever. And I think women invest perhaps for on a different basis from men. That's a generalization, but
yeah.
sometimes I think there are differences in the reasons why women invest and the reasons that men invest. And
Mm,
I think that it will, over time, make the ecosystem a much better place. But at the moment, it isn't very diverse.
yeah. But I guess in your story as well, brought it into your story. We've got to improve that flow through because angels typically come from being an exit. An exit typically comes from doing a startup. And to be able to do a startup, you've got to have the skills or the motivation to sort of do that. So it's a bigger issue than just saying, okay, which women have got some money they can invest in startup. We've got to get that experience and we've got to get that flow through, which is what's happened in Silicon Valley, which is your sort of story in that as well. So we've got to solve that almost bigger problem through the chain and getting girls into STEM and sort of stuff like that, isn't it?
We really do. So, I mean, I'm a sort of person that uh, I am aware of the sort of the big picture items that go on in the world, but I know that I don't have enough influence or enough clout to make that happen. So I'm very much a person that tries to make change happen where I can actually make change.
Mm,
So for 2 years, I was an entrepreneur in residence at my local school in Derry at
right.
1,100 girls aged between 11 and 18. And I showed up a day a month for 2 years and talked to them about careers in STEM, having their own business, starting a business while they were at school as a side hustle,
Yeah,
and answered all the questions about their career choices and the future of work that their teachers or their parents just weren't able to answer for them because
yeah,
like a 14-year-old girl would come up to me and say it's going to be it's 7 years time until I leave university. I'm thinking about doing these subjects. Do you think that they're going to be even relevant? Like we did something in class one day in our workshops where we wrote down, I got all the students to write down on sheets of paper the top, what they thought were the top 20 highest paid jobs right now and what were the top 20 lowest paid jobs. And we agreed the list, we put it up on the whiteboard, and then we went through with a red pen and we crossed everything off that we thought was going to get replaced by robots, machine learning, and AI. And we
yeah,
had hardly anything left on the list. And
yeah,
at
yeah,
that point, the kids were going, oh, wow. So where does that leave me? And then they started to understand what I was talking about when I said, this is all about you having really flexible creative skills instead of like learning a subject that's going to be
yeah,
what you do, because the world of work is going to be really different.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And their
Yeah,
teachers
no,
and their parents are never going to say that to them, Andrew.
yeah,
Their parents are going to say, I want you to be an accountant, a lawyer, a dentist, an architect. And their teachers, God love them, are doing their best, but they don't really know about the world of work.
very much so, very much so. And I've got two daughters, and I've run workshops for executives and that in trying to do entrepreneurship within corporate. And at the end of those programs I do in the corporates, I bring along a gift or something that my daughters had made, lavender bags, cakes that they were selling for charities and sort of stuff like that. And we'd at the end of the session, I'd say, right, okay, give me your feedback forms, and then we sort of do a draw for these things. And then a number of them came up to me after, say, oh God, I wish my kids would do something like that, for creating these things for charities. And I'd say it to them to their face. I said, I wish you'd do something like that, to these people in corporates because they're trying to get them to be entrepreneurial. And that was the seed that got planted for me when we created a business called Upstarts for Startups. And we'd run these programs in in companies, and the staff, the adults would bring their children into work on a Saturday morning, and we gave them our orange boxes from Upstarts for Startups, which had lavender or ingredients for making smoothies, or an iPad for them to make a marketing video, or money for them to, fake money for them to do a bureau de change. And these kids, we'd give them these and they'd say, okay, right, you've got 4 hours to come up with a brand, to sell these products, to do the marketing and all this sort of stuff and sell these products. And the adults would come around with real cash at the end of the 4 hours and have the sales pitch. And it was really to encourage, you know, business, tech, entrepreneurship, that cross fertilization, working as teams. And so the younger kids would have the adults in their teams with them in primary school. The older kids would be competing against the adults in different sort of teams, and they brought them along.
Yeah.
And that to me was a
I bet
way.
they came up with some great ideas as
Oh,
well.
they were fantastic. You know, and I go back then to these executives who were the ones that I'd be trying to get. I go, and look, we've been for months doing PowerPoint presentations to talk about how tech is going to change your business and sort of stuff like that. And look, didn't your daughter do something better on a, you know, in 4 hours, coming up with those ideas and seeing the change and not having the inhibition to
That's
get
right.
on
They
with it?
haven't had that beaten out of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you know, and they could, and the kids also had this thing, even if it wasn't their parents' workplace, it was another workplace. It was like, wow, this is where you come and you, oh, you're drinking free coffee all day and sort of stuff like that. You know, those
Yeah.
types of things. But I'm really passionate about that as well, about how do we get. And
Yeah.
my youngest daughter now, she's just gone off to university doing economics, and she's like, all these finance dudes, you know, because she's gone from a girls' school, and it's like, well, why is it all the men in these offices that I'm visiting and doing internships and sort of stuff like that? So she's now fighting against it
Yeah.
as
The
well.
school that I was in was all girls as well, Andrew. And we were in the middle of a workshop one day, and I just suddenly discovered that they all thought, and I think they were about 14 at the time, they all thought that everybody in a company got paid the same salary
Yeah, yeah,
because in their mind, everybody goes there for the same length of time. So why wouldn't everybody get paid the same? And when I told them about the gender pay gap, they were really angry because
yeah,
nobody had ever said that to them before. They didn't realize that a world could exist where men might actually get paid more than women for doing the same job. And it set off. But you know, I'm glad that I was able to tell them that because it was obviously something they had never thought about before. I'm
yeah.
forewarned, forearmed.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and I think we've touched on a few things there about how, you know, AI and change is going to move a lot faster than that now for this next generation coming out compared to
You
what we.
know, and the thing is that if we're not careful, it's those, you know, if you think about the pyramid of jobs, women largely occupy a lot of that middle place, you know, jobs in the bank, jobs at the council, things like that. And they're the ones that AI is going to just wipe out altogether. So if women are not equipped with the skills to go up the pyramid, then they're going to go down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's nobody wants to be there. No?
yeah, 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 yeah. So what are you seeing the positive stuff now that you're investing in and interesting startups that are coming out? And I've got a great passion for Ireland and that as well. You know, I've got a house over
I
in
know,
the
yeah, I know
over in
that.
the west.
So,
The rest of my family got Irish passports. So what's happening in Ireland and what's the big things
well, it's
around
funny
there?
because you know, we see no end of women starting businesses. I mean, my world at the moment, at this moment in time, is all about Awaken Hub and Awaken Angels. Awaken Hub's our social enterprise. It's a community for women founders across Ireland. 3,000 have joined that. It's a social enterprise and it's a just a supportive community. Then we layered Awaken Angels onto the top to try and do two things: help the women founders that were in the community raise investment, but also to bring in more women into the investment side. So our syndicate is not only women, but it is women led. We try to, you know, we're trying to bring in. So in 12 months, we've signed up 80 new angels into the syndicate, of which I think about 65 of them are women who have never invested before.
Wow.
We've made it accessible by making the entry point £2,000, euros, or dollars. Being Irish, a lot of our community and our own networks are in the US, and many of the people that are there on a temporary basis. They might be there for 10 or 15 years, but their ultimate goal is to move back to Ireland. And
Yeah.
you know, by investing in companies here, it gives them connection back to home and something to keep them up to date with what's happening in the business world here on, you know, here in Ireland. So we're quite pleased with how that's happening, and we see no shortage of women starting really interesting businesses. So again, a man said to me one day, why are you bothering to help women that are not trying to build unicorns? I was like, okay, so we do the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker next to the SaaS business, the person that's doing something around, discovering an orphan drug and everything in between. Because Ireland is a country that has large rural population, as you will well know.
Yeah, yeah,
And in my eyes, if somebody is creating a business that brings wealth and jobs and some prosperity into perhaps quite a remote part of Ireland, then that's a good thing to do. And I just wish that the government saw that as well, instead of putting all of their effort into supporting like fintechs and medical devices and health tech businesses, which is where government supports are really, really focused.
yeah,
And at the end of the day, it tends to be men that start those sorts of businesses. The women do tend to start different types of businesses from men. And just because of the way that the supports are structured, they seem to miss out on a lot of what they
yeah,
could be
yeah, yeah.
doing.
Yeah, but I think you've touched on a few points there that I think are really valid. But, technology, travel, skills are now available in places that they wouldn't have necessarily been before because of technology being more easily accessible and to network and to travel and all the rest of it. So being involved in the west of Ireland, to starting a business in the west of Ireland could be just as good as being. You don't need to be in Silicon Valley and that anymore to create
Yeah.
these sort of things.
So our syndicate has made two investments so far. One of them is in the west of Ireland. It's Emma Meehan actually at Precision Sports, and this week she won the EY Startup of the Year founder. So we're really, really pleased for Emma. And it's, what do they say? Um, talent is everywhere, but opportunity isn't evenly spread. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just how it goes, isn't it? So yeah, we are happy with how things are going.
very good, very good. Mary, it's been a great pleasure catching up with you, and it's been fantastic for you sharing and that with our listeners and sort of viewers. And I guess you'd be happy for people to reach out to you, female founders, female
Sure.
angels, anybody that's can
You
tap
find me
in.
on LinkedIn, or
Yeah,
you'll find me at hello at awakenhub.com.
excellent. Thanks very much,
Thank
Mary.
you.